Today we're going to review trig equations, how to solve them. So let's take kind of look at an example, an easy one. 2 cosine x plus the square root of 3 equals 0. I want to solve this like any other equation, so we're going to bring over the square root of 3 and divide by the 2. Now, recall, I want to find the values of x that's going to make the cosine negative 3 root 3 over 2. But you also got to remember, there's going to be two answers because cosine is negative in the second and third quadrant. So we should get two answers for our x. Now the question is, what's it going to be? Well, where is cosine equal to root 3 over 2? Well, in the first quadrant, if I use my hand trick, kind of easy to do, I want 3 fingers on top because that's where cosine is. So that's going to be my pi over 6 finger. So both of them are going to be pi over 6s. It just depends on the quadrant. In the second quadrant, it's 5 pi over 6. In the third quadrant, 7 pi over 6. And there, of course, is our answer. So let's take a look at a slightly harder one right now. 2 cosine squared x plus 3 cosine of x minus 2 equals 0. And I want to solve this one. Well, if you notice, this is a trinomial. Trinomials we factor. I can factor this. If you don't like to, you can write that 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. It's the same thing. But if I were to factor this, we get 2 cosine x, 1 cosine of x. I want to get 3, so I got to multiply it, so my other 2 goes here, and my 1 goes here. I want positive, so that has to become a positive 4 when I FOIL, right? Outside, that becomes 4, and this has to become minus 1 to make it a 3. And just make sure that the negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Set that equal to 0. Use the zero product property. Set each one of those equal to 0. Cosine x equals 1/2. Cosine x equals negative 2. Now, I'm going to deal with this one first. I have a red flag here. Cosine has a range. Cosine has a range from negative 1 to 1. So we have a problem here. Cosine here equals negative 2. This one gives us a D and E. So we can't solve that one because my negative 2 is outside my range. But over here I can. So again, where I find out, where is cosine positive? It's in the first and the fourth quadrant. So what values of cosine will give me 1/2? Well, that's going to be my finger. I want 1 finger on top. That's my pi over 3 finger. Pi over 3, pi over 3. In the first quadrant, easy, just 1 pi over 3. In the fourth quadrant, that becomes 5 pi over 3. And there's our answers. Alright, we're going to take a look at one more. And this is a slightly harder one here. This one you actually have to use some trig identities here. This one. 2 cosine, this is number 3. 2 cosine squared x plus the sine of x minus 1 equals 0. Now, it looks very similar to the last one. It is a trinomial. We have 3 terms there, but we can't factor it. And the reason why, cosine and sine are different. So we ask, what could I rewrite cosine squared as? I want to write cosine in terms of sine. And we have our Pythagoreans. Remember this one? Cosine squared x plus sine squared x equals 1. So I could rewrite cosine squared x as 1 minus sine squared x. And that's exactly what I will do. This is just 2 times 1 minus sine squared x plus sine of x minus 1 equal to 0. Distribute 2 minus 2 sine squared x plus the sine of x minus 1 equals 0. Combine like terms. Negative 2 sine squared x plus the sine of x. Be careful. Plus 1 equals 0. I don't like this negative, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. 2 sine squared x minus the sine of x minus 1 equals 0. A little bit trickier to do. But now the result is the same. I have to factor. 2 sine x, sine of x. 1, 1. I want negative, sign in the middle, so I put my negative here. So when I multiply, I get negative 2. And then this is my plus. Negative. So negative 2 plus my 1. Set that equal to 0. And again, zero product property. Sine of x equals negative 1/2. Sine of x equals 1. And now I can actually solve both of these. But be careful. Where is the sine of x equal to 1? If I look at my quadrantals, that's my y values. Sine is 1 up here because it's 0, 1. So x over here is just pi over 2. Over here, sine is negative. Well, where's sine negative? That's where it's below the x-axis. So we're in quadrants 3 and 4. And where is it negative? Well, if I use my hand trick, I want one finger on the bottom. That's pi over 6. In quadrant 3, that's 7 pi over 6. In quadrant 4, 11 pi over 6. And there's our answers there. All right, take a look at these, try these, and these are on your test. So, well, good luck.